Do you get a headache every time you think about building climate neutral? Today, I'm going to share with you the top 5 strategies I will follow if I had to design another net zero building. Are you ready? Let's go! Welcome to Therealzero. My name is Daniel Gallardo. I'm an architect and project director specializing in climate neutrality, and I'm going to share with you strategies and tools for building climate neutral. Let me first give you a quick introduction to climate neutrality. It's very easy. Take it like karma. There must be a balance. You take and you give. That means you have to neutralize the environmental impact emitted by producing a new building, taking action and implementing decarbonization strategies from the very first step. And how do I do that? Well, let's explore it together. My first tip for you is to define a CO2 budget. Having a clear vision about the carbon footprint that your building should not overstep will define the roadmap, strategies, and the measures to take during design, production, and maintenance processes. This CO2 spending plan has to be settled in the early stage, when you are visualizing your idea and defining the concept. If you are wondering why a CO2 budget is important to be implemented from the beginning, think about the financial aspects of a construction project. You are pretty sure about how much money it should cost you, right? That's why you have a budget for the total cost of construction, and the design team sticks to it for bringing up the most fitable building within the framework. Same, but different. Defining the CO2 cost of construction sets the carbon footprint limit to be emitted during production phase. Now, why is it called net zero when there is a clear environmental impact which is not neutral? Well, we use the CO2 budget for both decreasing the climate impact of the building as much as possible, but also for knowing how much CO2 will we need to amortize for cancelling those emissions and compensate. You can always use reference values from sustainability certifications as BREEAM or LEED to have a start point for defining your CO2 budget. Tip number 2. Minimize the quantity of the required materials. The main purpose of climate neutrality is to reduce the carbon footprint of a building, which can be implicitly done by reducing the amount of material in the construction. The less material we need, the less CO2 emitted to the atmosphere. But how do I do that? Well, we don't mean that you will need to live in the smart house, but you will need to optimize your design thinking process. First, don't exaggerate your volume. Try to keep it simple. Volumes with many corners and facade changes take often unnecessary amount of materials. On the other hand, compact buildings not only perform better, but emit lower CO2 and cost less. Number 2, focus on building parts with higher emissions. Choose those parts with higher carbon footprint and optimize them. For example, the structure, the climate envelope, or glazing. Number 3, choose efficient materials. Compare between different technical solutions for the same element and choose the most climate friendly. Of course, not forgetting about functionality and safety. 4, think circular. Reused or recycled materials are materials that don't need to be new produced. Therefore, their GWP value, global warming potential, is going to be lower than a new material added to the cycle. Use the existing resources as much as you can for eliminating big quantities of greenhouse emissions. Number 5, minimize waste material through an efficient design planning. Adapt your building to your manufacturer standard sizes. And number 6, use the right material in the right place. Tip number 3, set up an energy demand strategy. The European Environment Agency indicates that greenhouse gas emissions from EU buildings decreased by 31% between 2005 and 2021. Over the longer term, the trend toward declining emissions is expected to continue, but a substantial acceleration in energy renovations is needed to reach EU 2030 targets. In order to achieve net zero goals, we will need to put the focus on two actions. Action number 1, decrease the energy demand of your building as much as you can. There are plenty of innovative solutions to reduce the total demand of energy in a building. One of them is reusing waste heat. No matter the scale and the function of your building, you can always reuse waste heat. If you are planning a big industrial facility with equipment that emits heat, instead of funneling hot air back to the atmosphere or using energy to cool it down, you can reconduct it to be used for heating other buildings, homes, or supporting agriculture by heating greenhouses in the area. Using daylight and artificial lighting control systems is also a brilliant solution for reducing energy demand. Installing real-time daylight photosensors in your building connected to a lighting control system may reduce the electricity consumption up to 60%. Don't forget to use LED lighting fixtures for a better efficiency. And action number 2, once we have optimized the reduction of energy request, we will focus on producing and consuming clean energy for the required demand. From a community perspective, if your building is located in a city with a district heating system, this might be a very good solution for you, since district heating is one of the cheapest ways for reducing carbon emissions and has one of the lowest carbon footprints of all fossil generation plants. Many of them use biomass for the energy production. For electricity demands, you can work with electricity companies with a high sustainable profile, producing energy powered by wind, hydropower, or solar plants. If you prefer to be independent or to compensate and minimize the amount of energy required from the community systems, you can bet on isolated renewable energy systems, like the use of photovoltaic systems, solar panels, or geothermal energy. These systems are decentralized and provide electricity, heating, or cooling only to your building for amortizing the carbon emissions under production phase. But you can also connect them to the net and share the rest of non-consumed energy with the world. Electricity companies, depending on the country you are, have very good contracts for accumulating your overproduced energy during peak season for the times where your facility doesn't provide enough electricity, like dark times during winter in the case of solar energy. Tip number 4. Have a holistic perspective. Climate neutrality introduces a new factor for decision-making in the construction equation that can make us lose the north. If we only make choices out of the GWP values and energy demands, our project might become a disaster, misinformed, and function or shooting up the financial budget. This is where an overall control is needed, both from leading and production roles. It is very important to apply a circular design tracking process where we first design, test, measure, improve, and repeat. This might sound like a never-ending process, but don't worry, your project director will guide you to the goal. And talking about leading a net zero project, a good strategy is to make use of the Agile methodology. Let me know if it will be interesting for you to know more about project management for climate neutrality in the comments. It is essential to implement technical features in the early stage to minimize the risk of late changes that might compromise the result and your CO2 budget. Tip number 5. Digitalize your process. Nowadays, we live in the most developed digital era, where robots and artificial intelligence can help us to improve our life on a click. And talking about decarbonization is a matter of time, precision, and action. Make use of AI-powered tools to have quick overall results over your design in the earlier phases. There are plenty of tools in the market that can help you with it. Design in BIM and automatize your LCA calculations, synchronizing your models between both platforms for facilitating a sustainable workflow environment for evaluating and producing faster technical designs and reaching the best possible scenario for your carbon footprint. Let me know if you want me to make a video about AI tools or BIM and LCA automation down in the comments. Digitalizing design process is crucial for keeping your climate neutral vision on track. Now you know which strategies you should follow to plan and design your net zero building. Everything is in your hands. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this content and it was helpful. If you like it, support the channel by subscribing down here and give us a thumbs up. Let me know what your climate neutral strategies are in the comments. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.